Today we are making a multi-story trap house, by far one of the most complicated maps I've ever made. From a map making standpoint, it would be quite complicated because each floor of the manor would get its own map. Then on a DMing front, there's a ton going on because we filled it to the brim with traps, treasures, and the odd secret passage. But let's start by looking at the questing purpose this house is meant to fulfill. So yeah, with this quest, what we need to do is the party are asked to steal a bunch of stuff to prove that they are worth putting into the Thieves Guild, the local Thieves Guild. And this building is actually owned by the Thieves Guild leader. A bunch of other Thieves Guild members live there as well, but the party don't know that. So it's sort of like a nice safe trial in that they're, you know, the Thieves Guild can see how good they are at thieving, see how stealthy they are. They can like watch them through like secret contraptions and doors without them being any consequences of them getting in trouble or them getting caught and then ratting out the Thieves Guild, anything like that. Because we want to have high stakes, but actually low consequences, because this is still like a introductory quest until the aforementioned Thieves Guild. So they're basically lying about what the true intention is. I think really fits with who the Thieves Guild are, right? They're sort of obfuscating the truth. They're being like, oh yeah, you know, that's a really rich person in town. We need valuable stuff from them, but actually them being in control and using that as a test, I think fits with the characterization of a Thieves Guild. In short, the party need to steal a bunch of items from a manor. So while creating this map, we'd need to purposefully place items the party could get their thievy little fingers onto. But before we'd get there, we'd need to, as always, create the blueprint. While creating a floor plan, I'd realized that the 3 floors plus the 2 towers is just way too much business and in turn wouldn't fit onto one map. And so I decided to make this one manor 3 separate maps. One for the bottom floor, one for the middle floor, then a third map for the top floor and the 2 towers. Starting from the bottom, most of the interior would get a pretty familiar styling without too much to really dwell on. I'd use many of my go-to strategies and design techniques for not just the dining room, kitchen, and storage of this floor, but for most of the manor. So I'm only going to mention the most notable choices we made. One such choice was to make the bottom floor 2 separate sections, one for the right side entrance and one for the left side entrance. And I'm just thinking about the door immediately for over here. So I think this could be like a straight up wall. And I think what we could have is, it will be a bit asymmetrical, but it's like, I think this entranceway could get to the top floors, but like this area over here only gets you into the kitchen and storage. I don't know, that's kind of fun. And it's like, there's a staircase that's going to be over here that'll let you get into those top floors there. Yeah, and I think it can be a little bit like weaving and stuff, because it's like a Thieves Guild quest. They're going to be like breaking in and exploring. So having sort of like just a dead end where it's like you come in, it's just the storage and kitchen and dining room as just like a part of it is like, oh, okay, well, this is a little bit less, what's the wording? Accessible than a normal place. Makes a lot of sense that it would be a bit more like crafty and a bit more like set up weirdly because it's a Thieves Guild. Now's a good time to mention that each of the maps we would make for the different floors would actually have different bases, because this particular stamp is somewhat asymmetrical in its design. The balcony entrance on the 2nd floor and the 1st floor porch being examples of the differentiation they have. This meant the creation of this collection of maps was that extra little bit difficult because I wasn't dealing with the exact same size floor plans. So the proportions and shapes of the blueprints would be varied. I'd try to make it sort of uniform, but I also just allowed it to be fairly interpretive and free-flowing. So the floor's exact spacing isn't really aligned to either the inspiration stamp or each other. This is the main thing I'd want to improve in myself for future maps that span more than one map. Although I don't mind this choice too much, as I did it to save time and effort, but also to improve each individual floor map, even if it means as a group they don't mesh as well as they could. This leads us to the completion of floor 1. Floor 2's blueprint would start with the balcony entrance, and I'd also place some jaggedy angled walls down to create crazier designs and provide us some space for hidden areas. But with the planning phase complete, it was time to turn back to the quest at hand. As we start filling out these bedrooms and these lounge rooms, we need to find different pieces, because I think what would make for a really interesting thieving through this is a lot of thieves' quest are go steal this specific item, which makes a lot of sense and is great. And we've leaned on that before, and it works. What I think this can be a little bit different is the party are asked to collect 5 random valuable items. And I think that gives a lot of space for us to put different valuable items down on the map, but also a lot of space for the party to think of what they need to do. It gives a lot of agency. There isn't sort of like one way to do it. Maybe they collect 5 valuable items for like just 1 or 2 rooms. Maybe they really spread it out, but it gives them a lot of chance to sort of like, we can put 15, 20 valuable items on the map, and then they can pick whichever ones they like. And there will be a lot of justification for what they define as valuable. And I think that's going to make for a really fun map. A little while into this process, Clueless Forum, being the legend he is, would write a suggestion in chat that would instantly amplify the goodness of this map in its entirety. An enchanted cup full of endless wine that compels anyone that passes it to drink from it endlessly until the cup is removed from their hand. Ooh. Yeah, that's cool. This idea to include traps all over the map would become massively pivotal to this entire map, becoming something we'd majoritively focus on going forth. But it'd also massively expand out the narrative of the Thieves Guild test. The traps won't be lethal and just complete incapacities till the owner frees them. Yeah, I think it could be until the owner frees them, or until like the other members of the party sort of free them. So, you know, a lot of what they're doing is they're just stealing a bunch of stuff, but it's just like, because it's a test, everything they're doing is a test. It's like, are they able to like break free of a charm spell? Are they able to break free of paralysis? Like, if they break into a house and like something happens to them, do they have the self-autonomy to get out? Because the guild doesn't want people who are going to be like, get into a house, have a charm spell happen to them, or a trap spell happen to them of some kind, and then they're stuck there. Maybe they like, you know, start ratting out the guild or whatever. Like, they need people who are able to free themselves. And I think like having a bunch of tests like this is good. And it's also okay. What it can also do is like the party can basically like fail this. The party can get caught because the capturing is just like, it is the Thieves Guild catching them. So they're just like, hey, you did well in your test, but we caught you eventually. So we can actually have it be like really, really difficult, because if it is the Thieves Guild catching them, these traps and these like, you know, disenablers of the party can be overwhelming, and it can get to a point where the party aren't able to escape. Or like if they hit a certain limit, we can write in that if you get done by 5 traps, that like the party comes in and is like, no. With this new direction in mind, we'd start working on a list of 10 traps and 10 treasures, which would scatter throughout the manor. This is when chat and Clueless specifically would be hugely helpful, suggesting trap after trap we could weave into the fabric of this Thieves Guild abode. We'd also take this time to really discuss the trap philosophy we were employing for this specific scenario, as the circumstances are really different from when you might employ traps in a regular dungeon. I like situations like this where it's like, yes, they might go to sleep, you can wake them up, but it's not just like you can go like, hey, wake up. Like, the party needs to think of like, maybe there's a spell, maybe they have to like throw water on their face. Like, they have to do something that's gonna be a little bit more than something simple, and forces them to look at their spell list, look at their characters, use a bit of ingenuity. And we don't have to write anything in specifically, because it's going to be impossible to give examples, and the party are gonna you know, think of it. But if you just tell the party, like somebody goes like, hey, wake up, and it doesn't work, then they're going to know they need to start thinking of stuff. And that can really make these traps go from just like a fun trap to a real source of innovation and ingenuity from the party. And that's what we want to be doing with these traps. We want to be having fun and creating some difficulties, but we also want to create scenarios where the party can do more than just make a save roll to get out of it. They have to actually like think and use their brains, which I like. To partner with this, much of the challenge of this house was how effectively the party can deal with these traps, which would affect the save DC we'd assign to them. What we can do is I'm going to put like a 12 wisdom save for this one, because the whole party are walking past, so they're all going to need to make the save. And I think we can have some traps that have like lower saves if all the people have to make saves, and higher if only one person has to make the save, because it's not so much just about making the party do saves to get out of it. It's also a lot about like how the other party members are able to help them and save them. So if like one single trap, if a person's being caught by a single trap, in a way we sort of want them to be caught by it, unless they roll really high, because a lot of what this quest is about the party figuring out how to deal with these like compulsions or these like the issues that the traps are causing, the magical binds in which being put on them. And it's not necessarily about making sure that the party can roll really high saves all the time. If they can, that's great, but the purpose is to see how they deal with it. And hopefully a lot of the fun of the session is the party dealing with these traps in fun ways. So low saves if it's for everybody, high saves if it's for specific people. I think that's what we're gonna go with here. While I won't go through all the traps by any means, one example of this is we had a mirror which warps anyone's mind who touches it into believing they are hideous. They are able to avoid this though if they roll a 20 on an intelligence save. I should also say I like to diversify the saves that we have so it's not just the exact same over and over, so all 6 saves are used for at least one trap. For this save though specifically, they can make it every minute for every new outfit they put on. Once again, the main purpose of this trap is to just slow them down and not hurt them or anything. However, as teamwork and figuring out how to deal with traps is a large part of this entire quest, party members are able to convince the person ensnared by this that they look great to knock them out of their self-deprecating delusion with a much more achievable 15 DC persuasion check. On top of these rolls though, smart thinking, good utilization of one's character sheet, or great roleplay might also free the person. We provided mechanical ways to escape, sure, but we also wanted to allow invented methods to work as well. And this is more or less the style we applied to all these traps. Apart from traps and treasures, there was one last major element of this map we included: a few secret hidden spots. Will there be tunnels and secret doors? Well, not necessarily tunnels, but we do have a couple secret doors we've put in. So yes, sort of, to answer your question. So we have this bookcase, but how do they get in past this bookcase? Same thing over here. How do they get to this tiara, right? That's behind this wall. How do they get into this wall? And I think they can get in through the window up here, but for these two, we need to have secret buttons for them to move the bookshelf. Maybe this chest can be a trap, but if they figure out how to move the chest, then they're able to get through like a little hole behind it. Stuff like that. So yes, we're also thinking of little hidden passageways. With these 3 elements in mind, we'd move on to the last floor's blueprint. The trickiest part about this floor would be how to represent the towers, and I'd make this decision. I think I'm only gonna do this part of the tower, because theoretically I could do the base, but I think I'm only going to do the top of the tower, and I'm just going to have ladder that goes straight to it. So we're going to put a ladder here, and then we'll have like the top of the tower there. And the main reason for that is because it's like, I'm just not sure how to really, like, we could do the top of the tower there and then like the bottom over here and just put it out of place, but I think that might look a bit clunky, so we're just gonna have to maneuver around it a little bit. And that's what I'm gonna do. While I think it would make sense that these towers themselves probably have a few flaws, sometimes it's not really possible to represent the actuality of the stamp on the map, and you have to change the likely interior to be something that will actually work and you can format on Inkarnate. On top of this tower design, chat would also make a great suggestion that would fit into the map narratively, but would also flesh out the dead space we had on this 3rd floor. Want to know a secret room they can find in this mansion? Is a room completely invisible from the outside and can be accessed from the inside. I think it's a good idea, especially in the context of like, we need to fill this space, right? Not like fill it, but it's like, I think it's gonna look a bit weird and empty. And I think having like a room that's like disconnected here, and that like we don't actually connect to the rest of it, and is maybe if they go through a cupboard, it's like a teleporter and it like teleports them to this secret room. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm gonna go for. I would end up making this a secret room that exists inside a tree far, far from this actual house. And yeah, I could have picked something simpler or more in line with the style of the rest of the manor, but why not do something a little more off the wall, a little more creative? A lot of maps are fairly realistic in their design, so when you can add that magical fantasy element that makes D&D so great, then I think it's really good to embrace and include. With this section done, this is basically the end of the map. Sweet. So I think we've actually completed the 3 maps. We have our first floor map, which is pretty simple as far as manors go. Pretty much got all the classics. Then we have our floor 2 map where it gets a little bit more creative. There's a little bit more going on. There's some bedrooms, there's these secret little passages. This is where it gets a little bit more complex. And then floor 3 ups that once again. You know, you have a secret passage to a room in this a tree many distance away that you get teleported when you go through here. All of which I think we've done a really good job of you know, creating traps for and creating valuable items for. And overall, I think this map is going to be really fun for the party to sort of work their way through, maneuver, trying to get the valuable items, trying to deduce what is the valuable items and what is a trap. When they inevitably get caught by a trap, how are they able to get out of it? Are they able to get out of it? What are the sort of consequences there? So I think we've made a really good 3-story map that I'm super happy with. You know, we have sort of floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and there were some challenges as far as making sure that we could get this sort of quite asymmetrical and different looking floors to line up and have sort of that connection. But I think as far as that goes, where it's like, you know, we have floor 1, floor 2 on top of it, floor 3 on top of that, with the towers and this like secret room. I think the blueprints we've done for the floors definitely correlate. And I think having the preview really helps to sort of demonstrate what they are. So I'm really happy from that standpoint of this was quite a tricky thing to embark upon, making one single manor map 3 separate maps. That's hard, right? That's not easy, especially as I'm saying, it's asymmetrical. They all have different bases, so you can't just do it 3 times. And then on top of that, we've created this really awesome and interesting sort of quest out of it where it's a trap house. There's traps, there's secret passageways, there's valuables, and I'm really excited to chuck my party into this scenario and see how they fare, because I think it's going to be a really fun quest for any party where, although there is a lot given, there's so much space for ingenuity. There's so much space for the party to have their own agency, do what they want, and mess around, and say what they think is valuable. Make their own claims. Even though we have put some items down, you know, they can make their own justifications, which I think is really good. And then on top of that, there's all these traps which, although they have DC saves that sort of allow them to get out one way or another, all of them sort of have ways that the party can think of ways to get out, which is once again great, because it's not just like, this happens to you, you need to do this. It's kind of like, this happens to you, how do you react? And they need to figure it out, which is often when players have their most fun. So really happy with this map. I think it's turned out super well, and the quest that it's a part of, then the questing is great as well. So very happy. Awesome stuff. And that's the video. If you ever feel like you're trapped and you want to be free, then subscribe to the channel for more weekly D&D resource creation, and join us on the Twitch to throw your thoughts, feelings, and ideas into the quests and maps when we make them live. Also, if you want to use this map or get access to the quest module it's a part of, then jump onto the Patreon where it exists, along with stacks of other content. And massive thank you to everyone who has already signed up. And with that, we're done. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.